Hello and welcome. My name is Taylor Miller and I'm the manager for Slamdance Unstoppable. Slamdance Unstoppable, presented by Blackmagic, is a program for and by creators with visible and non-visible disabilities. I am seated today on a leather couch with a blue wall behind me. I am a white woman wearing clear glasses on my face and a black sweatshirt. Thank you so much for being here. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to share Unstoppable with each of you. Each film in our Unstoppable program this year is a raw, authentic, singular, and unapologetic experience that eliminates the threshold of what is possible. Our moderator and both panelists today offer the same blaze of wonder. It's not about no limits. It's about having limits, breaking through them, and telling the story about it along the way. Disability Will Be Televised is our Unstoppable panel this year, and we are honored beyond measure to continue our journey of learning with moderator Juliet Romeo and panelists Lolo Spencer and Steve Way. Juliet Romeo is an Afro-Caribbean Black woman seated at her desk wearing a pink blouse and an oxygen cannula. Lolo Spencer is a Black woman wearing a black t-shirt with text that says, "Sitting Pretty" in white font. She is seated in a wheelchair at her desk wearing large hoop earrings. And Steve Way is a white male with an oxygen cannula seated in a wheelchair at his desk, wearing glasses on his face and a white shirt with a black towel around his neck. We want to thank you again. A special thanks to the University of Utah for all of their support and help making Unstoppable as accessible as it can be. Thank you again for joining us. Check out all the films and more to come at slamdancechannel.com.
Hello and welcome to Slamdance Unstoppable 2022. I want to thank you for joining us and stopping by to check out today's panel, Disability Will Be Televised, with my brilliant friends Lolo Spencer and Steve Way. You can watch Lolo on the new HBO hit, The Sex Lives of College Girls. And you can watch our Unstoppable founder, co-founder Steve, on Hulu's show, Rainy. My name is Juliet Romeo. I am a filmmaker, writer, and activist, and I have lived with sickle cell disease all my life. I'm the founder of Slamdance Unstoppable, and I'm honored to be here today to discuss disability, accessibility, and activism. Welcome, Lolo and Steve. So once again, Slamdance Unstoppable has proven that adaptability is everything. Like here we are again in the middle of this pandemic, and pretty much everything is starting to get shut down again. Like, how are you guys feeling about that?
Well, I think for me, I think it's necessary to continue to take the precautions because there's a lot of, a lot of illness just going around in general, people just not feeling well, people, some weren't taking it as serious as others. And there's got to be a way to, control these things. So me being an extrovert, it is always challenging when it comes to the shutdowns. But also I understand it. There's people with compromising, illnesses and diseases that this, COVID could really affect in a harmful way. So I think just everyone just needs to do their part and do their best. But again, when it comes to disability, quarantining, being at home, that's almost like our normal in many ways. So
absolutely,
because of lack of transportation or accessibility or those things. So I think in general, people with disabilities are probably the only community that isn't really stressing it too much when it comes to a shutdown. But yeah, everyone should just do their part.
Absolutely. I feel like this is the norm for us. So we were really able to adapt to it. And I think that, it being now 2022, it'd be great for everyone else to just get on board with accessibility and adaptability and realize it is for everyone. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, it's super frustrating. It's been now 23 months since the last time I worked. I would really, really like to make some money soon because I can't keep ghosting. And, I got bills to pay and I'm trying to buy a house. But, we live in this weird society that values work and productivity over the health of those workers. So, yeah, while I obviously want to work, it's not the best idea, not just for me, but really anyone. I would love to see a real paid shutdown. We'll never have that in this country because money. But, I just wish there was some other kind of middle ground because, we know the solutions, that we know how to solve this, but it'll never happen because of the people who made those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's then the people that suffer are us. We're the ones that always suffer during times like this. So yeah, it's super frustrating. I'm hoping to film soon where I will probably inevitably get COVID. But it's hard because I obviously don't want to get it, but I have to do what I have to do to survive. And I don't think I'm exclusive in that party, especially in this country.
Yeah, I think that, people are focused more on work. And I do think that in that work, we all should still be included, including, especially folks with disabilities. And both of you, in the work that you have done, have characters that you have this connection with your characters where it's not focused on disability. Your character's not focused on disability. And how do you feel about that? Like, do you think that is actually helpful in bringing more disability to the forefront as the norm and acceptable?
Well, I guess I'll hop in. Yeah, I mean, I think it's helpful. I mean, that's what I always desire when it comes to choosing roles is, what is the humanity of this character first before what you are able to see, because I have a visible disability. And so, yeah, I think it does start to create a narrative about disability lifestyle that people are not used to, that people, if they don't have a disabled person in their immediate lives, that they won't ever learn about unless it was on TV or film. And so the more versions and variations of disability lifestyle that is out there in the media, the better for people to understand disability overall. I don't think we should ever shy away from the harsh reality that living with the disability comes with as well, but it also doesn't always have to be the focal point every time you create a character with a disability, because when you're writing or developing a show, all of that is essentially, again, unless it's coming from a personal place, a majority of the content comes from our imagination. So if your imagination can't even get past a certain point that is beyond what we say all the time, inspiration porn, or beyond this super duper overcoming, oh, woe is me, narratives, it's really telling of how imaginative some of these, writers and creators are, which is very limited. So I think seeing different versions of it can expand the imagination, expand creativity, and start to really create characters with disabilities to be multi-layered or multifaceted in many of the other characters we know and love in other films, whether they have a disability or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, what about your character? How do you see it connecting as just a person functioning in that world without it being about disability?
I mean, it's real. It's our lives. Yes, obviously, we are disabled and we might do things differently, but that doesn't mean that we don't get into the same situations as non-disabled people. Just because we're disabled doesn't mean we don't go to the movies or we don't go to the grocery store. It's not like we don't have jobs. So I always thought it was just the epitome of ignorance when, we would be shut down for wanting to do just that on screen. Because the thought was that people wouldn't believe it. What does that mean? That just means they wouldn't believe our existence.
Yeah.
And we clearly exist. I don't understand why it's weird for a disabled character on TV to, go on a date with a non-disabled person. We do that all the time.
All the time.
We have jobs. I'm a substitute teacher, so why can't there be a disabled person on a TV show as a disabled substitute teacher? Logically, it makes zero sense, but of course we understand it.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. It's really about it. I think it's more of just a social deconditioning more so than it is just creatively, what it takes to put together a show and characters with disabilities. It's people really, really need to be, detoxed from all of the negative stereotypes. Because exactly what Steve said, there was actually one time I was dating someone and we got into an argument and he's like, look, I know I might be the first non-disabled guy you've ever been with. I said, whoa, wait a minute. I said, baby, you are not the first and you will not be the last. How about I've never even actually dated someone with a disability yet? You know what I mean? But it's the assumption that disabled people are only with disabled people. We don't have non-disabled friends. We don't date non-disabled people or those kinds of things. And then it's also where are you getting this from? I personally blame a lot of the school system, but that's a whole other topic. But again, it's that almost even egotistical thing that a lot of non-disabled people do. Oh, you should be so special to have me in your life kind of thing. It's no, actually you're kind of a trash person. And I'm really
the other way around
to cut you off.
It's the other way around.
It is the other way around.
It is the other way around. Exactly.
You're more special. I'm in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So true. So true. I feel that, even for someone with a non-visible disability like myself, being on set, I feel like sometimes people feel like I'm asking for too much or because I need a certain thing, a certain way in order to navigate that space. It's like this exacerbation of, oh, she's, being extra. They may not even know just to look at me and know that I have a disability, but because I request that my water not be cold, I want, tepid water. And they're like, why? Like I'm being extra. Like, do you guys have those type of experiences while you're on set, and how do you deal with them?
I know for me, I've definitely had to kind of sell my reasoning. Right? I've always had to, I guess, justify why I did it as if I'm, lying about needing a ramp or needing like a room to change it, because I can't just stand up and get undressed by myself. But something I've learned over like the last few years is that there is no chance in hell that the accommodations I need are, one, harder to get, and two, more expensive than the accommodations that are asked for by like top paid A-list actors. Like you can't tell me the ramp I need or getting me a room is more expensive than the trailer that like Will Smith uses. That's an entire city block long. Like it's bigger than like people's apartments in New York City. Like, just stop trying to like gaslight me into thinking that what I'm asking for is, one, unreasonable, and two, going to break your budget. Because we both know it's not. So stop playing games.
Yeah.
And give me what I need, and I will give you a great product.
Yeah.
Because the more accommodations that we get that we ask for, we're just going to do a better at our jobs. And the less that we have to worry, and the less that we have to struggle on set, the better headspace we're going to be in. And we are going to be just that much better in front of a camera. And, that's just going to make everyone else happier. So why not just do everything in the beginning so everything after that goes smoothly?
Exactly.
Not that hard to understand. Of course, we get it, but they don't, and that's why we're doing this panel right now.
No, exactly. I think I struggled with it more just like on a personal level, feeling like, what we call internalized ableism, right, is almost pushing ourselves to a certain point so that way we don't have to ask for these accommodations, because we've been gaslighted our entire lives that the things we genuinely need, this isn't like some fancy shit, this is genuinely some stuff that we need, is for some reason doing too much, asking for too much, or inconveniencing people. Luckily, so far, my experiences on set have all been very positive ones. Anything I needed, they were able to accommodate. But I think it's also very telling, and especially for people with disabilities who want to break into this business, to really have a strong team behind you, because they do a lot of the talking and explaining for you, to where you can just show up on set and the conversation's already been had. There's nothing to even discuss. And if something is lacking, you hit your team and be like, yo, I thought y'all said that I was going to be able, to get someone to assist me on set today. Why are they tripping off of somebody coming with me? Like, you know what I mean? So then those conversations end up happening. So I think it's definitely important, because not everyone has, a following in the same way Steve and I have, or, you know, even just strong enough personalities to be like, yo, this is wrong. I need this. Somebody do this now. So for those who kind of have that challenge, highly, highly recommend a strong manager, agent who can really advocate on your behalf. And those people also, you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that those people think about disability in the same way that you do. Because you can also get people who are like, oh yeah, I'll advocate for you. And then you find out that they're just as much, oh, but please, we really need to. No, you need someone who's like, yo, she needs a ramp. Where's her trailer? Why isn't her trailer accessible? She needs handlebars on her toilet. She needs a toilet riser. Like all of those different things. And like not even necessarily having to be like aggressive or mean about it, but just really stern in what you need as the talent on set. So thankfully, there's been no issues thus far. And plus, you know, you just have to have that team that supports you as well.
Yeah. If I didn't have Robbie as my advocate, you know, Robbie just that's the person. Yeah. I don't think I would have made it nearly this far in my career.
Agreed.
You know, when he wrote my part for the show, and when Hillary said, "Great, he's gonna play Steve," right away he said, "Oh yeah, Steve. Steve's gonna play Steve."
Yeah,
like that's it. And then obviously, you know, before we shot season 1, he would ask me whatever I needed. Yeah. And then he would relay that to the production team. And now, before shooting season 3, I now have the production team reaching out to me to ask what I need. So yeah, to go off what you said, Lolo, having an advocate is so important. And I think, you know, I don't usually like to speak for other people, but I think, Lolo, I can speak for you now. If we can do that for other disabled performers, oh yeah, we absolutely will.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and I think you and I have learned a lot in this wacky industry. And, you know, the game is definitely changing.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't you or I would not be on TV. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely changing. Yeah. And I think you and I have this obligation now to help open the doors for other people like us.
Absolutely.
I know for me personally, as just another annoying straight white guy, you know, I want to open the door for more diverse voices. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm disabled. And it was so hard for me to get this far, but, you know, I have to acknowledge that it was certainly easier for me just because I am still at the end of the day a straight white guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing that we don't really talk about is that within disability in media, there's still all of the other biases that have been fought against for decades. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, we can talk about disability all we want. But then you gotta take that a level deeper. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You get into the racism, the sexism, the homophobia, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the intersectionality of all those things, like, you know, this is exactly, ladies and gentlemen, everyone out there watching this is what advocacy and activism looks like. Like I always say, there's no way I can be my own advocate. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
You know, when I hear people say, you have to advocate for yourself. Yes, I can stand up for myself, but it's exhausting after a while. You know, it's exhausting. And so you have to have people to advocate for you. And now I have the energy and the time to be able to advocate and help someone else. You know, it can only be going forward. I can't focus on me because then I'm just tired and I can't do anything. You know, this is what activism is. You know, this is what advocacy is. And so I love what you guys just said, because that's really just tying all of that up in a nutshell. You know, also just to see you guys on screen is amazing, and have people be able to identify and see themselves and say, yeah, this, and guess what? Nobody died. Everything still works. Not only that, these are hit shows. So now the industry can't even say, well, we're losing money. It's not working out. Right. They're going to have to be like, okay, this is where the money is. So how do we keep doing this? How do we keep making money? You know?
The fact that Lolo is on the biggest premium cable channel. The fact that I have won the Show Rami awards for representation.
Yeah.
Like, people are talking about this.
Yeah.
Like, every day we just we prove wrong every negative stereotype that's been thrown at us. And it's so funny because this fight has been going on for decades.
Yeah.
You know, to get disabled representation. I think we've done more in the last 5 years to prove ourselves and to prove everyone else wrong than in all the time before that. Because there, like you said, Juliet, there's no more excuses.
No more.
There really isn't. There really isn't. And and it's at the point where there's so much information out there that if you aren't doing your own work to learn, and if for whatever reason you have the desire to, you know, it's always, I always find the questions funny from people whenever I do panels, is like, you know, how do I learn how to be a better ally? How do I learn how to be a better, you know, this or whatever? And it's like,
Too much money. It's just kind of money.
Like, literally learn how to be a person. Like, it's not that complicated. You know, if you have to really ask the question how to be a better ally, look in the mirror and become a better person first, because allyship shouldn't be a task. It shouldn't even be a job. It's literally just a human connecting with another human, realizing where you may have privilege and being like, wait a minute, that's fucked up. Let's not do that anymore. Let's not do this. You shouldn't have to take a course on how to be an ally. Just be a person who sees an injustice and speak up and do something about it. You know, that's all this ends up really being, you know? And so it's I just always find that to be like, I always find it to be funny. I mean, I do have kind of like a sick sense of humor, but you know, it's one of those things. And I think we also have to be mindful to also give people a little bit of grace to make the mistakes. Understand that if the intention was to be a positive one, I say you still made a little bit of a mistake. We have to allow that to happen as well, because if someone makes a mistake and you jump on them about it, that will, especially when it comes to disability, turn people away. So you have to be aware of how to also fight the fight in a way that's going to be productive. Now there are just certain things that are just so completely ignorant that there's like, okay, you're just that is fucking just wrong all the way through. I'm not necessarily talking about those moments, just more so the truly like kind of innocent mistakes that everyone is guilty of doing every once in a while, you know? So yeah, so that, I don't know, that was just like my little tangent. I don't know where it's going with that.
That's a brilliant point. That's a really brilliant point, because there's clearly a difference. And I think it's important that we make this distinction for everybody watching. That there's a difference between a systemic problem. There's a difference between the problems with the system and problems with the individuals.
Yeah.
You know, individuals, yeah, they make mistakes. But certain systems are designed, set up to be that way. It always bothers me when people say, "Oh, the system is broken." No, it's not. It's working exactly the way it's designed to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's working just fine. Doesn't mean it's not working for you. Doesn't mean it's not working.
Right.
But yeah, our number one goal is to change the system.
Yeah.
And I think the only way we do that is by working with the individuals. So when they make the mistakes, we're there to say, actually, it's like this.
Exactly.
You know, like you said before about like speaking to someone, you know, treating us as humans.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know how you just talk to that one person? Yeah, just do that to me.
Yeah, that's it.
It's that
That's
easy.
all it is.
It's like if someone told me back in high school that all I had to do was talk to girls like they're human. Oh my God, my life would have been so much easier. Right? I found that out when I was like 30, but it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Facts.
Yeah, probably not, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and also to also realize that disability comes in so many variations and facets. I mean, in 1972, we had our first closed captioning in 1972. And then all of a sudden there was a gap where there was no closed captioning anymore. Like one show, which was like The French Chef with Julia Childs, had closed captioning. And then after that, there was none. And I'm sure their reason for doing it had nothing to do with the hearing impaired. Nothing.
no, it was probably just because of her accent.
Yeah.
You know, people probably like phoned in and say, "Hey, I can't understand her, but I want to cook."
Oh, I want to see the recipe. I want to see the recipe now. You know?
Well, what is put the recipe on the screen? You know, not knowing that the real intended consequence was to help those who are hard of hearing.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud.
And I think too, to that point is, you know, especially if you are a person who wants, with the disability, who wants to get in the advocacy space, you know, you have to be equally mindful of those who have disabilities that are not your own and being aware to advocate for them as well. I know there's been plenty of times I've worked with certain brands, won't say their name, but you know, they wanted me to be a part of something. And I was like, well, are there captions? Will there be captions for this? They're like, oh, well, we didn't, you know what? Let's go back to the technical team, figure out how we're going to, yeah. And it's just like, yeah, like, how are you going to, you know, I can't go into detail of exactly what it was. I'll probably end up spilling the beans, but you know, those are the things that you have to really advocate for and you know, you just have to be aware of it. And you also have to be aware of like, you know, because I get asked those questions all the time, like, you know, how do I get into modeling? How do I get into acting as a person with a disability and all these different things? And it's like, you know, your path is going to be your path, but just really understand why you want to do it. Really, really, really deep down inside, figure out why you want to do this work. Because exactly like both Juliet and Steve, what you both were saying was like, this is exhausting work. There's a lot of work outside of what you see on TV that goes into just existing in this industry. And then let alone try to have a voice to allow others to come up behind you and, you know, be alongside of you or whatever the case is, you know? And then there's a lot of misconceptions that people think we have more power in this industry than we actually really do. So, you know, it's also like, but you have to be able to take on that criticism as well. So it's like, just be very aware and mindful. But at the same time, it is about really just advocating not only for yourself, but having a team, you know, as well to advocate, because it's all community based. All this stuff boils down to community.
Yeah, I don't think people understand the importance of solidarity.
Yeah.
Especially in this industry.
Yeah.
So important.
Absolutely. It's so important. It's this industry, they have that saying about Hollywood, you know, it's about who you know, not what you know. That's what we're referring to as far as like network and solidarity and, you know, I hate to use the word allies, but, you know, people just on your side who get it, who are advocating on your behalf. All of that matters. All of that makes a difference. Because again, like Steve said, when all of those components are taken care of, by the time us as talent comes on set and all we have to do is, you know, perform, then we'll give you the shit that you need in order to make this thing a hit. But I shouldn't have to be nervous to go to the restroom, or I have to hold myself together because I know there isn't an accessible bathroom anywhere nearby. So then, you know what I mean? Like, we shouldn't have to worry about those things when we go to set. But again, once all those things are taken care of ahead of time, we could just show up, perform it, and be.
Also, we shouldn't have to worry about those things because no one else has to worry about those things.
Exactly.
Why are we different? God damn it. Now I'm angry. No one else has to worry about
though. It's true. If no one else has to worry about it, then we shouldn't have to worry about it either.
No, then
why be an ask?
Why should our lives and our jobs be more difficult than anyone else's?
Yeah. At the basic level, though.
Yeah.
At the basic level, why should it be a challenge? It never should be. It never fucking should be.
Nah, it's just whack.
Yeah, it's whack. That's what the problem is. Period.
Absolutely. I do feel that there's this kind of, I feel like people are walking in our shoes a little bit now because of the way things are. And they're starting to be able to empathize only because they know. They're just some people that, unless it's happening to them, they don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so I do feel like that has a lot to do with why things are closing in and lining up, because now they get it. They get it to a really small, minute extent, but they kind of get it. So like, wow. And it's still that ableist thing of, oh my God, if I had to struggle with this, imagine this, you know? So it's like, give me a break.
Yeah, you know,
I'm like, I'll take it. Just do what you got to do so that I could, you know, get what I need to get.
I think the thing is with the shutdown with regards to disability, I'm not sure people even have equated quarantining with disability yet. More so, the only thing that quarantine really did, if anything, for disability is got people to sit down and look at disabled creators and look at our content or come across our content. I don't know if people have even equivalated quarantining and pandemic and illness with disability yet. I think one of the things that really had frustrated me, especially at the very beginning of all of this in 2020, is the fact that forever, when it came to employment of people with disabilities, one of the reasons a lot of people with disabilities weren't able to get hired was because they'd be like, oh, we have to come to the office every day. You're only going to be able to work in the office. Our office isn't accessible. Sorry, we can't hire you, blah, 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 blah. But somehow, in a matter of 2 weeks, we've all figured out how to work remotely. We've all figured out how to work from home, from the top execs of whatever industry business at the end to as, minimum wage as a secretary might be. Like, y'all done figured it out how to work from home this whole time in a matter of 2 weeks, when literally for decades, people with disabilities were not able to work because you kept telling us that we had to come into the office in order to work. There was no way that I can work from home. You're full of shit. So now that is the norm, it's almost like, I know I've even said it. I'm like, look, now that this is the norm, people with disabilities, if you want a job, get it now. Because now there's no excuse of, oh, you're going to have to come into the office. No, you know how to make me be able to do my job effectively from home if I need to stay home for whatever reasons,
This is why I'm so cynical when it comes to American politics, American society and capitalism. I don't mean to get political, but our lives are inherently political. The reason that you just stated. The very first few weeks of quarantine and the pandemic, it really showed this country's hand. In the sense that we should have had those accommodations all this time.
Exactly.
And the only reason why we didn't get it was because they chose not to. And COVID, and again, this is the cynic of it. COVID is going to be just a new part of our lives. It is never going to go away. And the one thing that I always reference is look at the numbers of new cases in the middle of March of 2020 and look at the numbers now. When did we take more precautions? When the numbers were less. Give it less than 5 years and Zoom will be dead. I truly don't think that we are still going to have these accommodations because they will always choose productivity and output over our convenience. Just for the same reason that they could have done this the whole goddamn time. And they just didn't because it was a choice.
Exactly.
They showed their hands.
Exactly.
Because they showed their hands, we have the opportunity now today to continue to really push forward, because now they can't hide, like you said before, Lolo, they can't hide anymore behind any of the reasonings why they couldn't do things. And so, I'm really proud about the work that Slamdance Unstoppable has done. We across the board with Slamdance, we have closed captioning, and it's really, other people see that and they're like, oh, wait, we need to have closed captioning. Why don't our films have closed captioning? It's required now going forward, in perpetuity. So this is how it's going to be. And we trying to normalize this inclusion, and so we really have to wind down this conversation. Although it's so good, I don't want it to end. But I do want to ask you guys one last question.
Mhm.
What does unstoppable mean to you?
Well, I mean, I think, I guess unstoppable is exactly what it is. It's definitely one of those uh more obvious, I guess, definition words. You know, it's to literally mean that you go throughout life fearless. You go throughout life without any reservations, without any shame or fear of who you are and how you show up in the world, what you like, what you don't like, and being able to showcase who you are, your beliefs, your moral ground without any reservation. And you don't look at anything as, you know, a stop sign, just more of a yellow light. And even though there will be challenges, because that's just life in general, everything is a challenge. It's not impossible. It's anything is possible, knowing that anything is possible, regardless of circumstance. You just got to find your way of getting what you want out of this life. And once you figure out those hacks and those ways of getting it done, then you become an unstoppable person.
Yeah, I think it's living with the same mindset. You know, the great leaders like Frederick Douglass, Susan Presley, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Judy Schumann. And yes, I say Judy Schumann because I firmly believe that her name should be in the same conversation.
Agreed.
As those people.
Agreed.
You know, just to keep it brief, neither of us would have gotten the education that we got if it wasn't for her. You know, we probably wouldn't be speaking right now if it wasn't for her leadership. You know, in the same way that, you know, Black people in the South got rid of segregation. It's the same kind of fight. We know what's right. We know that this is right. So, you know, there's no reason to give up that fight, especially when we're making so much progress every day. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
You know, it might take a while. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
It's still going to be hard. But can't stop, won't stop.
Unstoppable. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, activism is being unstoppable. You know, unstoppable is activism because you have to continue to push forward even when people put up boundaries and try to block us from what we know is our right as a human being, you know? And so we are unstoppable. Lauren, I want to thank you for, you know, joining us today. I have been following your career and been a friend of yours for a while, and I'm just so proud of you. And just seeing you just really show all of us what it's like, and that we too can achieve our goals and aspirations is it means a lot. And you have been an unstoppable go-getting sister from the jump, and I knew it the minute I saw you. You had a glow. And Steve, you already know my brother. We've been in this together for a while, and so I really thank you for joining us today. And everyone out there watching this, thank you for joining us and listening to our really amazing conversation. This has been so great. And continue to enjoy the festival.